My name is Sarah, and today's book review is on Lover Unveiled, book 19 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. Non-spoilers. I give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Our main couple is May and Savage. May is a young female that's in desperate need for something evil and mystical, and the only way how she can get it is by crossing paths with Savage, who apparently is a MMA underground fighter and a past with the Brotherhood. Thing is, everyone thinks he's dead, and when their paths cross, they're pulled into this ultimate evil that is just been going around in our world. And what I mean by ultimate evil, yes, I mean by Divina. People, in this book, I don't know what J.R. Ward was thinking when she was writing this series, but somehow she was able to expand further into the lore of the BDB world, and it worked. And it's like, oh my god, I cannot put this down. I want to know what happened. And at the end, I'm like, we have to wait for another year now, because it's just getting good, people. Yes, like I said, Savage, he was a member of the Black Dagger Brotherhood, but the thing is, they think he's dead from events, so he's just been keeping low underground, and by doing that, he's been doing underground MMA fights, just going around beating people for money. And that's how he does meet May. And again, May has something that happened to her before the book happened, and it's made her so desperate that she has to go somewhere off of the basis of an old legend someone's told her, and what she knows is probably dangerous, dark, and evil, but she's willing to take that chance no matter what. And that just happens to lead her to Savage, and then the stars align and they are together as partners. May was an interesting character, okay? Yes, she had some moments where she just got into big fights with Savage over the littlest things, which I would have just been in the corner eating my cookies just smirking. I'm like, yeah, y'all should keep going. But through her point of view, we saw how desperate she was to get this item. It's like, even because we have some characters and they were able to pick up, yeah, this is a dangerous obsession that she's willing to do anything. And we saw that in her point of view, which is like, wow, I hope this girl does not get herself killed. Savage, you saw how much he was holding back on certain emotions and fears that were like really taking him, because we also got flashbacks to him back in the old country, and we saw how that played in his personality and why he's reluctant to do certain things. And it's like, I like that very, very much. And again, the lore that just keeps expanding thanks to the slight crossover with Divina now becoming the big baddie, and some characters knowing what's going on, some thinking, okay, this was some legend, maybe this actually did happen. It's just, oh my god, it just keeps going and going and going, and I just can't wait for the next book and 2023, people, if y'all know what I mean. And yeah, that's as far as I can get into spoilers. Lover Unveiled, book 19 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. Bye, non-spoilers. Spoilers. We open up the book literally at a fight's getting ready to happen, and it's through May. She went to the fight. She's looking for someone called the Reverend, and I was like, isn't that Rev? Rev, I thought you gave up on being the Reverend and stuff. Why is that name ringing a bell unless it's someone that took your name? It's like, what? Who? First of all, she's looking for Rev. Second of all, she's not taking crap from anyone, because yes, she's dressed normally, and like the people that look like they came out of Tokyo Drift for this underground fight, and they're getting all up in her face, and she does that, pound, grab the throat, lift her up against the wall, you were saying thing. I was like, oh, wow, we don't mess with May at all, especially when the bodyguard comes, and she's like, I'm here for the Reverend, and he's like, are you sure? And she's like, yes. It's like, okay, off the bat with many mysteries. And side note, we have the other cast of characters that we get the point of views from, and that would be Balthasar, people. We get a bunch of POVs from Balthasar, possibly hinting that his book is the next one, because he goes to the Commodore, because apparently this is the only best real estate in all of Caldwell, and he's doing his thieving thing, you know, just trying to keep his skills up in play and everything. He goes to this nice place. He grabs a beautiful diamond necklace, and he's saying, okay, how much am I going to get for this? And he's getting ready to leave after doing his work and everything, and the missus of the residence shows up, and he's like, you're supposed to be in Europe. She's like, I probably was supposed to be there. And he just talks with her. Okay, Balthazar seems like he's a good person just to like talk with about emotions, and she's talking to him about the mister who's in Idaho with another missus and work, and he's like, he's a fool and everything, and she's like, that necklace he had, he gave it for our 1-year anniversary. He's like, you know, maybe you should wear it, feel beautiful. She's like, I don't think so. And he's like, you should feel beautiful, it's okay. And they just have a nice little night. It's like, oh, okay, Balthazar. And he does let her keep the necklace, and he's like, you know, just to screw around with the guy who should have been here for his wife, I'm gonna steal his priceless watch collection. And back at the fight, apparently someone felt the spiritual pressure of the opponent, because we have the human Ralphie who's all gung-ho getting ready for this fight, and everyone's like cheering him on, and then all of a sudden like everyone goes quiet. May's there. She accidentally gets pushed into the safety ring area. Luckily someone pulls her back in time, and that's when like the sea of people parts and the lights just flash on, and you just feel that spiritual pressure. And it's Savage, because he has this grim reaper muscular skull flaming tattoo kind of thing on his back, and around the front it's like the finger pointing at you. It kind of looks like this, like on the cover, that's what everyone saw, and the light of darkness, that tattoo. And I was like, wow, this person's gonna die. And so does May think that too, because when the fight happens, Savage is just playing with the dude. He's all afraid, but he's trying to keep that, you know, appearance that he's not. And, you know, they're doing the fight until Savage's like, okay, time to make a move. And he starts, basically grabs the guy, does a few arm twists around, and you can feel that he's gonna kill this guy, and May does. And she's like, stop! And oh my god, May, we're an underground fight. Meaning that not many people are going to check their fighters, because Savage does get distracted. She's like, don't kill him. And he looks over, and Ralphie, the human, busts out a knife and cuts Savage. And everyone's like, okay, time to move. We gotta go. And everyone's scrambling for their lives, trying to get out. People know they're going to start calling the police. And May's thinking, I should leave because I haven't seen the Reverend. But then in the back of her mind, she's thinking, wait, what if the guy that just got cut and who's bleeding on the floor that's telling me to run is the Reverend? So we're like, tick tock, tick tock. Okay, he's probably the Reverend. We gotta save him, because I need to know where to find this item that this female that's been with my family for so long, Tala, told me that he might know where to find it. So yeah, that's how our two main couple meets. On the other side of town, after Balthazar is, you know, nicking the watches, he's getting ready to leave the Commodore, getting ready to go, you know, do his thing. And then all of a sudden he hears a tap, 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 tap. I'm like, first of all, he's like, what's that sound? I'm like, please don't tell me what I think of this. And Balthazar goes to this beautiful library area. All these books are all lovely. Oh, cool, cool, let's get out here. Tap, 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 tap. Balthazar goes to this little item in a case that's separate from all the other books, and tap, 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 tap. It's book! And I just started calling it book, not the book, because it has like a capital B, so it has a name. It's a book! Davina's book! What the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing to lure Balthazar? So while Balthazar is with the evil book, and while May and Savage are, you know, trying to make sure he doesn't die, we get another point of view. It's like, okay, this has to be a very, very important character if the author is, you know, showing her, unlike what happened in A Sail and Solo's book with the female that did come in, but then she died at the end. No, this character had to be important, because this is homicide detective Erica, and she's going around the Caldwell solving murders. Well, she's trying to catch a serial murderer, because she's been finding these couples. One was in the Commodore, and their hearts were removed, and they were loving couples. They were holding hands and everything. And she's like, I gotta call the FBI, because this has happened before. I believe we have a serial killer out there. And it's like, first of all, we know who takes hearts and all that and goes after lovers, Davina. But we just like, who is this character? Who is this Erica? Because I was like interested on what's going on with her, because she is literally on the tails of everyone. With the flashbacks we get for Savage, because we have one when he's still at the underground place with May, and we get back to Old Country. I believe it's 1833, and he has a cousin named Raven, and back then that was when he's still part of the Brotherhood, but he was also, you know, the guardian over his cousin. And I guess something happened to where members of the Glimera part of Sixes was coming after her, and Savage just wanted to take her and run, but she kept saying that, you know, this has to be, you have to let him take me. So I believe that something was going on back then at the Old Country, not political wise, but she made it sound like she was having psychic visions. So again, even in Vampire Society back then, the witches, and they do come for Raven, and Savage doesn't want to give her up, so he's getting ready to fight when he gets attacked by a bunch of arrows from the forest. And I'm thinking, he said an arrow went through his heart, so he died, like everyone believed. How is he still alive? And so this is how the flashbacks that we get about Savage ties into present day Caldwell and makes so much more sense, and again, a greater expansion of the lore of the BDB world. Nate, the son of murder, already has a job. He's working construction. He has a friend that goes by the name of Shuli, and I guess he's like an upper class kid, but his dad's making him get a job, and he's like, so he's working with construction, and he's like always tagging around Nate, and they're good friends. And there's this thing going on about meteors, you know, just landing in places, and here they are working the job, and the one just happens to land nearby, and of course the males and females on the team have to go investigate. And Nate wants to check it out, but Shuli's like, no, something feels weird, something feels wrong. And this is the character that just, like, you know, plays around all the time, right? So, like, you know, it's always sus whenever they're like, hey, we shouldn't do this. And it's even more sus whenever he pulls out a gun, and he's like, I was told to protect you. And we're thinking, murder? Did you secretly hire someone to protect your son? And Nate's thinking that too, but you know, he does go with Shuli and the others to investigate, and it's a meteor in the ground. Cool, sweet, don't touch it. It's probably really, really hot. Maybe you want to scan it for radioactivity. And that's where he sees a mysterious female hiding in the woods. I'm like, do we have a space female now? Back in Caldwell, May saves Savage. They start arguing because he's like, I wouldn't have killed him. He's like, yeah, after I called so you wouldn't kill me. Yeah, so you're the reason why I almost died. Well, that's because I thought you were going to kill the guy. And yeah, again, hence the knife attack. And they're just like arguing. And then all of a sudden, you hear like someone going like, y'all make a wonderful couple. Something like that general area. And we all look. And it's Rev. Dude. Does Wrath know you're still dealing with this stuff with humans? Because I think he does. It's like, I thought you gave this all up. I guess not. You still gotta hustle on the side. Good for you. I was just like thinking, Rev, I thought you retired and left that all up to Sale. And then Sale retired. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Either way. May, that's the You're My Only Hope. And even Rev is like, yeah, that's a Star Wars reference. But he's reading her grid and he senses how destructive, obsessed that May is when she says, Tala sent me. She said you know where to find the book. And first of all, I'm wondering, why does Rev know about book? That's a mystery on itself. And he tells her, I don't know what this thing was talking about. Don't go looking for things I shouldn't be looking. And he leaves. And that's just in the back of his mind. We're just like, why is she looking for book? And I was like, dude, this is gonna get bad real fast. Speaking of Book, Book does try to possess Balthazar, I believe, and Lassiter calls Balthazar, and he runs, gets back to the mansion, and Lassiter's keeping whatever presence outside of the mansion. And I was like thinking maybe this might be a big baddie, new big baddie, because, you know, last time we saw he wasn't afraid of Davina, but I don't know what's going on. And so, Miss Davina eating hearts in her beautiful place. I'm like, hey Davina, are you forgetting something? And she's like walking around enjoying her beautiful collection, and she decides to go check on Book, and then she's like, where's Book? And then she goes to check another area until she's flipping her whole place over, and it's like, you seriously lost Book? You lost this evil, almost sentient creature, and you're just realizing it? And she is mad. She's thinking, it wouldn't leave me. And then she remembers, oh wait, I did have a prisoner here, so did this thief steal Book? And it's like, yeah, Davina, if you're willing to leave the Brotherhood alone and everything, I'm willing to put everything on truce, because we have bigger priorities to take care of, because we have to go find Book. Book cannot be left alone in this world and supervised. Let's go. okay, we find out the plan with May because Tala was the one, an old family friend that told her, you know, she knew Rev's mom, who apparently used the book one time? Question. Pin on the paper on the wall, because we never refer back to what Rev's mother used the book for, but apparently Tala did use book. She got her wish, but the end result wasn't what she wanted, and so we want to find a book because May's brother Roger had died mysteriously. He managed to find his way back home and died in her arms, and she wants to revive him and find out who did it. So she's been keeping him on ice, and so Tala shows May the requirements to do a summoning spell for book, to bring book to us. And I'm like, ... What? And it gets better, because after that, you know, encounter with May, Rev decides to go tell Wrath about book, because the princess at the time had book, and he had seen her use it a couple of times on people before it disappeared again. So now we have to let the brothers know about book, because it's floating somewhere in Caldwell, and that's bad news. Something happened with the summoning spell, because, you know, Tala went over, eyes back, and then she came back. I'm like thinking, okay, we need to keep an eye on her about possessions, but we hear a knock, not a tap tap, but a knock at the door, and it's Savage, and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I was in the neighborhood, because he's like, I don't know what I'm doing here either way. But also because he, you know, they both fed off each other, so, you know, blood radar. And here they are arguing when Savage, like, he gets that chill up the spine. He's like, get inside the house. And like, we're like, why? Even I'm like, what? Is book here? Is the bitch here? It's like, no. Something in the middle of worse is here, because we look across the yard and it's a shadow. Okay, Savage, let's do this. And apparently him and May make a good team, because the shadow attacks, Savage defends it with a gun, but he gets blinded, and so May, she's the one pointing, he's the one holding the gun steady so it doesn't, you know, push back, and they start firing at the shadow, and they make a really, really good team on this, because he completely puts his trust in her. He holds the gun steady, she's the one aiming, and she's the one pulling the trigger, and they manage to defeat the shadow just in time to close the door. And then here's Savage picking up all these heavy items that even I would need like 4 people to help with, and he's like barricading them all in there, and they're working together, making sure the house is secure. It's like these two, when they're not arguing, they make a good team. With them and Tala barricaded and waiting out, seeing what their next move is, we're back at home with Tate and the murder. And so Tate asks Murder, did you have Shirley protect me? And he's like thinking, what are you talking about? And he's like, never mind. And he's like, nay, what? I'm like, awkward. 'Cause the moment you mention something weird to a brother, they just start pushing, they start prodding, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's nothing, something weird happened and Shirley just pulled out a gun. But it's okay. What? Shirley pulled out a gun? What is that idiot doing with a gun? He's gonna probably get you killed, he's probably gonna get you killed. Why does he have a gun? What's going on? Tell me what's happening. And Nate's like, dude, I got this. Cool. Nothing to matter with all that. Cool. Bye. I gotta go to work. He's like, no, it's still not time for you to go to work. He's like, yeah, I gotta go early. Bye. So we have that slight mystery in the air. And we also have the mystery because Nate does go back to where the site was, because he's there a little bit early, and he sees the mysterious space female, and she's apparently speaking in the old language. Nate doesn't understand it, and he just like, okay, cool, I gotta get this female some help. Back in the human world, Erica is on the case. She's literally on everyone's heels because she finds dead Ralphie and his girlfriend, same MO. It's like, okay, Davina got to them too. And she's really good on her job, which is like, I'm wondering like, why, brothers? Why? Because we also get this fun little tidbit dropped off later in the book, like a small little toss away line about Dela Cruz. It's like, why? Why don't y'all have humans in the police force, medical, media, just to keep y'all up ahead what's going on in the daylight hours? You know, I'm just saying, why? We get a quick little sessions that we find out that the female's name is Ellen, because Rage does show up. He does speak in the old language to her, and we do find out she does speak English. And Nate's like, wait, what? And she's like, I was just nervous. I didn't trust. And it's like, understandable. And we call Mary because, safe place. And we decide to help out the female. And back at the Brotherhood, after, Rev delighted us with this beautiful information about Book, that's when Lester shows up. And he's like, I kind of suspected this would happen, and I have a plan. And they're like, okay, what's your plan? And it's like, okay, those coffins y'all keep in the garage? Yeah, we need one of those to make this work. I'm like, wait, what? And the solution was to get what was in one of those coffins, and that was belonged to a warlock that was given the title of warlock because there's like some mysticism going around. And guess who's that coffin belongs to? I'll let y'all guess. After securing, Tala's house, May decides to go back to her home, and Savage does follow her because, blood trail. And he's salting the house. Good, cool. When he senses something evil approaching, and he's like, I gotta do this, and he just finished salting it, when a Miss Brunette shows up, and it's Davina, because, summoning spell, and I guess she sensed it. And here she is trying to work her charms on Savage, and he's all like, silent mind, walls, everything, wardrobe, and he's like, it shows you how he is trained in these arts. And even Davina's like, oh, you're so cute. And luckily May does open the garage door to take out trash, and she sees Davina, and he's like, don't, he gives her that sign, that look, and she's like, I do not invite you in here now or ever. And Savage closes the garage door on Davina, and she's like, we'll be in touch. Something's weird going on with the boss's art, where I'm thinking maybe he has like a dream possession of Davina, because he has a dream. And he slept through like 2 meetings with the Brotherhood, and his cousin Siphon, he calls Jane to check on him. He's like, everything's cool and everything, and that's when she said, oh, and he's like, what are you talking about? And he knows that there's scratches on the back. It's like, I had a thing with the missus, and Siphon's like, cool, fine, I'll leave you alone. But then we find out that was left off by the woman in his dreams. It's like, Davina, did you infiltrate the Brotherhood through dreams with Balthazar after his encounter with Book? I'm like, this is not good, people. Good news about the coffin. We're about to resurrect Savage because apparently he has this item on him that's called the Gift of Life that basically redirects evil. Simplest term I can think of. Evil comes at you. Haha, you have activated my trap card. Magical cylinder. And it reverts it back to the evil. There. Cool. Right. Yeah. Problem. That's Savage's coffin. And they're performing the ceremony, getting ready to resurrect him. And they pop the lid. And everyone looks down there. And it's a bunch of bags of flour. So they're like thinking, well, he was considered, warlock because of all the rumors around him. Again, same thing in the world of vampires back then. And so we have a missing brother and missing prison that's known as the Gift of Life. And Lester is freaking out thinking, this one time I was getting ready to do my job properly, this happens. What the hell? We do a flashback to back in the old country. Savage wakes up. He's in Six's castle, and he's like wondering, how am I still alive? He goes to look for Raven. She's really in bad condition, and he was trying to get her out, and she's like, your duty to me is no longer needed. You are now free. And he's like, no, you're still my cousin. I gotta protect you. And they're about to be attacked by Six's guards. And at the time he knows, like, why is the castle empty, and here are these guards coming? And then all of a sudden they all start like levitating, and their heads explode. I'm like, whoa, what just happened? So is Savage, and he looks over to his cousin, and it's like, who art thou? So we're thinking, is this Raven, or has she been possessed? She finished the Shuli question. Sarah, it was you that told Shuli to keep an eye. She's just being protective mama bear, and she just wanted to make sure her son was fine. And here she is crying. Murder's taking care of her, and Nate's like, I want to go move out and everything. And she's like, oh my god! And Murder's like, what are you doing? And she's like, are you doing drugs? And Murder's like, you're doing drugs. Like a complete family moment. I think he just wants a little bit of space for himself, and luck happens to fall in his lap because Rage calls saying that they need a handyman at Lucas' house because a female, Ellen, is going to be staying there for a while. And Nate's like, I'll do it, because he really, really likes Ellen, apparently. And it's like, okay, cool. We'll get back to this family drama later. And when he's at Lucas' house, he's with Ellen, they're talking, and she does a touch, and she somehow sees the entire past of Nate, because she was like saying, you know, something bad happened in her past and she couldn't open up. He was saying something bad happened in his past. He was slowly opening up, but when she touched them, they were able to like find this connection with one another. So like, okay, now they know they're like in this good relationship where they can be very open with one another. I started freaking out when this happened. It was because Balthazar and Siphon are, you know, doing their thing. They're scouting and stuff. And he was asking like what happened in the meeting. And Siphon was talking about Book. And he's like, well, can you give me more description about this stuff? And he's like poking prodding, like, because he's seeing the connections between his encounter with the Davina dream and with Book. And I started screaming because all of a sudden he saw the psychic shop with the palm saying psychic. Run! Run! That's the psychic shop! But no, it's luring Balthazar's in there. Siphon is like, oh my god, come on, we gotta go. But no, they're in the shop. They're going up the stairwell. Davina's there luring Balthazar in. Siphon's trying to fight him off, but Shadow grabs him and we are in a mess. I'm like, no, Balthazar, don't do it, because he's so close to falling for Davina. But he remembers, you know, a moment back then with him and Siphon and the other bastards, and he breaks through the trance. He fights Davina off. He gets his cousin. They manage to break the illusion, and they call the brothers, like, you know, something's going on here. We need backup, and Davina's gone. I'm like, that was a true close for call moment. Fallen angels, what are y'all doing? Last time I checked, y'all were somewhere in Caldwell. Why have y'all not shown up and taken care of Davina? And during all this time, it's like been like 48, 72 hours for this entire book. So I'm like, wow, short moments. But at the time, that's when May and Savage are, you know, getting to know each other, getting to open up. She's talking about her family that, you know, are very controlling. He was saying how he's always been on the move because he lost a family member. He's never really had anyone to keep bound to. And so, you know, they're just getting to know each other. They know how that some parts of them are broken. They're able to relate with. And he wants to know why she wanted the book, and she lied about saying she wants it for Tala. It's like, you know, it's death. It's a part of the life cycle, so we gotta let go every now and again. He goes to check on May because they've been going back and forth between Tala's house and her house. And he had given her a gun she used just for protection. She forgot it, so he was going to go give it to her. Well, during this entire book, May has been going back to this gas station to get bags of ice to keep her brother on ice. And that's why she was taking longer than she needed to be. And so Savage, you know, like, oh, I should go give her gun first. And he does. And he sees Roger. And that's when he realized, oh, no, May. No, this is not good. Because she wants to resurrect her brother. And he's like telling her that, you know, you have to let this go. You have to let him at peace. And she's blaming herself because she was the one that pushed him out. And he had been missing for weeks, and then he finally came home and dying, and she feels guilty about that thing. And I hadn't been so controlling like our parents to him that he would still be alive, so that's why she needs Book, because of this guilt, this self-destructive guilt on herself is like really bad for her. And Savage sees that, and he's like, fine, I'll still help you find Book, but in the back of his mind, he's gonna find Book and destroy it. And then one of the final flashbacks is that Raven leaves Savage. He realizes that Six has got the worst death possible. Everyone left. And he was like thinking only something bad and evil would do this. And he's thinking maybe it's only Raven. When he hears a tap tap, he goes back into Six's castle and he finds Book with a spell that had been used. So we're like wondering, oh my god, what happened? And Book's trying to get his attention, but Savage leaves, and that's like the last time we ever saw Book. So we see how Book ties into Savage. I'm like, ooh, connection. There's been so many other deaths going on with the missing hearts and stuff that Erica's like starting to let the press know what's going on, as well as that one of the dealers that apparently Savage and Balthazar uses died because Savage went there to go get some guns. He was being rude to a girlfriend and he told him not to go for the gun. The guy went for the gun. He shot him. Balthazar went there with the watches. The guy was dead. He left the watches, took his compensation, and left. And Erica was there. She was checking it out. Again, this girl is on fire. And she knows that there's a recording going on. So not only does she have a recording both Savage and Balthazar, she decides to put, you know, let the reporters do their thing so they know to be on the lookout for a certain person possibly connected to the death of Ralphie, and the description of the tattoo that he has. And May freaks out. She hits the brakes. Someone understandably rear ends her. And this is one of my pet peeves about Good Samaritans just doing their jobs, because he's getting ready to call an ambulance for her, and all of a sudden Davina shows up, kills the dude, and he's like, girl, that looks rough, let me help you. Oh, she's been waiting for this for so long. Rev does get a call from Savage because he wants to talk about Book, and he's like, I know you have Book and I want to know where I can find it. And Rev is picking something up on Savage. He's like, okay. Balthazar tries to go back for Book again. The Mister is there and he's like defending the Book, but then Davina shows up and she kills the guy because he was being so backtalky on her. And we noticed that Book was being very active with Balthazar, but when Davina showed up, apparently Book wants to see other people, and Davina's not getting the memo because she's like, give me the book, and Balthazar looks at Book, and Book's like, and he's like, okay, you can take it. And she's like, no, you give it to me. So like, apparently someone has to give her Book so she can take Book, because Book's like, I don't want to go with her, she's crazy. It's like, I never thought I would be on the same side as an evil item, but it's like, Balthazar's like, good luck with that. Bye! And he leaves to go tell the brothers where Book is. At the same time, after Balthazar gets back to the mansion and tells Fritz to lock down everything, Rev does meet up with Savage again with information on Book, and then he leaves, and Savage is getting really mad. He's like, fine, I gotta go look for Book myself. And then all of a sudden, the brothers walk out, and he recognizes Murder, Tor, V. He's like, there's some new faces I don't recognize. The familiar faces that I used to know are no longer here. It's like, that's how long it's been since he's been with the brothers. And it's like, reunion time. They're like, we need your help. He's like, that's very cool. Everything, I gotta go. Bye. And they're like, this has to do with Book? And it's like, you have my attention. It's like, Davina does take May as prisoner, and she's like, I'll leave you here. You're fine working out with your little workout in this cage that she put her in, and she's being all mean to her. It's like, I'm gonna go get my book, I'll be back to kill you, bye. And May's like, okay, I gotta find a way how to get out of here. And the best thing that I find in this book that I applaud May for is that we gotta start burning stuff. And what better yet to do with Davina's most prized possession, this very long, unpronounceable title style of a purse, and we just start burning things. I'm like, cool, let's start a fire. Sprinklers don't go off, but the alarm system does, and at the same time, security guards go to check on what's going on. They go down to the room where May's being held, but you know, illusion thing to where it's empty. And when the guards checking it out, Tor, Butch, and Savage do come looking for May, because he said the only way I'm gonna help y'all is if I find my female. And they go looking for May. They tell the guard to go off. They go into the room, she's not there, and she realizes that there's something going on, interdimensional stuff. And she's like, you know, how is he gonna find me? And she does the ceremony again to summon him, and she gets really frustrated. And at the same time, that's when Savage finds out, yeah, she's still here, and he looks back and the door is a mirror. He sees May. He reaches in, grabs her, pulls her out, like, cool, we gotta get out now because Davina's gonna be here anytime now. She does show up after they're long gone and in safety, and she's like cradling her purse. And now she's out for revenge, personal revenge. With them keeping their end of the bargain of helping May, Savage goes with Balthazar back to the Commodore to get Book. And at the same time, Erica's there with the missus asking, you know, going through the footage, and she sees Balthazar in there, and she's like, that's the guy from my dreams. At the same time, they're upstairs getting Book, and Book's so happy to see new people, and the alarm goes off. Erica sees that. She tells the lady it's probably malfunction. She goes, she sees them, and she's like, wow, y'all are always really bad at this. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, okay, hands up. And Balthazar's like, I got this. And that's where we see this weird connection between him and Erica, and he managed to get her to go. And we're like thinking, possible new love interest for next book, but how is that going to work? Because not only is she a human, she's a cop! So that's going to be fun. And while Balthazar's taking that, he looks over and is like, oh, no, you don't. Because Savage is about to take off with Book, and they get into this tug of war with each other because Balthazar needs to save himself because he has Davina's essence inside him. Savage needs the Book to get rid of Book so May will be okay. And they're fighting and everything. And then Lassiter's voice comes in. Balthazar saying, let it go. And all of a sudden his body just does it. And Savage takes off. And Lester shows up, and Balthazar's like, why did I do that? And he's like, you know, it was the good things. Like, well, now I'm screwed. And Balthazar's like, there's a way how to get rid of this evil. And he's like, what? And he's like, true love. So it's like, hint to Erica. And it's like, you know, you probably just slipped with that twisted ankle. And he leaves. And Balthazar's like, what is he talking about? And then he gets a twisted ankle. And he lets the brothers know not only is he down, but Savage is off with the book. The brothers track Savage's phone that happens to be at May's place. And they tell her, you know, if you help Savage, you'll be an enemy to the Brotherhood, because now he is an enemy to the Brotherhood. And she's like, what happened? And they wouldn't tell her, but she's like, he has the book, and she knows how much the book is to her, and she still has his blood in her. And she tracks Savage to like a boiler room, and the book is shaky. He's like, I don't want to die. And Savage's like, this has to be done. And he's like, fine, for the good of Sparta. And it's like, okay, Book's got on with this. But then May shows up pointing the gun at him, and she's like, she needs the book to resurrect Roger. It's like, you don't want to do this. She's like, you don't know anything about my life, everything. You don't, yes, you lost someone, but this is on me. I have to do this, I have to make this up. And so she accidentally does fire around. Savage does give May the book, and he's like, goodbye. And May rushes back to her house to try to resurrect Roger, but again, Book, he's trying to figure out his Google Translate, and he's going through different translations, and May is freaking out. So she calls Tala to help, and she invites Tala over, like, you know, female, please help me, because this is like, I think in the old language. Like, cool, I know how to read the old language. Tala gets to May's house, and she wants Tala to read the book, when she's like, you're really stupid. I'm like, wait, what? And at the same time, back at the Commodore, the brothers are getting attacked by a shadow, and we find out that's for distraction, because Tala is Davina. And I knew we should have kept an eye on her, because remember when I said she flipped over? That was Davina taking possession of Tala ever since. So she was in Tala's house before Savage was able to protect it with salt. And she's like, you know, I was the best roommate. I made that meal for you. That was like really awesome. I was letting you hang out with your man. I wasn't getting in the way. But now you have something that belongs to me, and I want it. And then she sees Roger. It's like, so that was the little thief that took Book from me. Because Roger was the one that took Book. That was the one captured by Davina oh so long ago. And he was the one that took it to a book dealer just to drop it off. Because I think Book just wanted a new family. So that's how it ended up with Mr. and Mrs. And even May picks up that Davina can't grab Book. And so she's like, go ahead, you take it. And then at the same time, Savage shows up, and Davina takes him as hostage. And May's like, fine, I'll give you Book if you let us go, if you don't harm us anymore. And she's like, fine, deal. And so May gives Davina a book, and Davina like takes it on my baby, and Book is like, get this bitch off of me. And she's like, oh, I won't even want to deal with the dead. That's too much for me either way. I don't want to cross that line. It's like, oh, cool. Davina has a line. After she kills Savage, and I'm like, I thought we were okay with killing off main characters, but Davina's like, psych. And I'm with May. I'm freaking out. Savage is dead with a broken neck. And she fires the gun at Davina, where Davina also has to admire this girl's got good aim. And when the bullets run out, Davina does her worst on May, and then she starts setting the place on fire. And May can't get out, and Davina's just gonna enjoy this until Savage, resurrected, grabs Davina, holds on, bites her, and jumps into the flames, like Zeno from Yona of the Dawn, and very much like Yona of the Dawn from like a few minutes later, because the house is burning. She can't get to Savage. V shows up, gets her out of the house, and like saying no one can survive that. So they believe that he killed Davina and the book in the fire. And that's where, because everyone believes that he is dead, everyone's gonna honor May because they know that she was his female. And she goes to Tala's house because that's the only place that she's gonna feel safe, because she saw a ghost of Tala, and the Roger saying, let go, it's all okay, we'll be waiting for you. And she's like making her peace with that when she opens the door, and there's Savage! Like Zeno! Because we found out that Raven had done a spell to resurrect him, but now he cannot die at all. He is immortal. And that's why he was always afraid to get connected with people, but he knew that May was his female, he didn't want to let her go and everything. I was like, oh, but I also feel like, oh, I know he means about being an immortal. That's the worst gift ever. Like, I don't want that for him, but he's gonna figure a way how to make it out. I just pray the best that we find a spell that will reverse that to where he gets a natural lifespan, vampire-wise, to be with his family. It's like, Aw, at least they're together now. And back at the burnt house, Davina's yelling at Book, where I have to give props to Book because she's arguing with him and he does a movement. And she's like, are you flipping me off? Rude. Fine, this is about to become a landfill. You enjoy yourself. And Book starts whining. And she's like, fine. But when we get home, we're setting some rules. I'm like, y'all. Apparently Book is willing to play by rules. So if we bring him home, tell him not to be mean to the kitties and everything, I think Book, without being his evil possession self, can actually be a good roommate. So, I'm all for getting Book in the next book. And at the end, we find out that Ellen was looking for a member of her family that she hadn't seen for a long time. She couldn't find them and she was very frustrated. And Nate looks at it, he sees the name that was looked up on the registry. And I had my doubts, but I also had my positive ideas about Ellen. So, she was looking up Savage. It's like thinking, okay, maybe a distant family member. But no, they contact Savage like a week later, and he goes to Lucas' house, and everyone's there, all of the brothers and Wrath. And he sees Ellen, but he knows like this is completely different appearance. Silver eyes, white hair, completely looks different, but this is Raven. And she sees him. He's like, how? I've been looking for you this whole time. She's like, I wasn't somewhere, but I was somewhere. She like time traveled, I think, to present day to find Savage because she knew he would be there. He's like thinking, is this still my cousin? But you know, I still love her and everything. They all love each other. Nate's there, and in the distance, I'm like thinking, okay, we end this off with a possible love triangle because we know how much Nate loves Ellen, Raven. And there's Lasseter, he's with V, and he said, I never saw her in the vision. It's like, this is really weird. And he sees her and she sees him. He feels this weird connection. And V is like, you know, I didn't see her in the vision, but that's how destinies work. And it's like, I hope you the best of luck with this female. And there's a possibility that Ellen, Raven, might be Lasseter's love interest in this book in 2023. So, yeah. Mysteries all around, people. And that's the end of spoilers. As you can see, I had so much fun with this book. Yes, I enjoyed the main characters. They had their ups and downs and stuff. But I really enjoyed how far the lore has gone since the very beginning of the BDB world. And how J.R. Ward just keeps expanding on it. Now we know what's in the coffins. Other dead brothers that did some naughty things, and who knows, we might be resurrecting those guys later. I worry for Savage with his immortality, but now that Raven's there and we have possibilities of mythology and stuff, we could probably find a spell to, you know, reverse that and have him have like a natural lifespan. I'm all for getting Book. Book seems like a good person. Davina, not so much. We don't need her. She's causing too much trouble already. And Erica is on her heels like fire, and I can't wait to see how this relationship between Erica and Balthazar is going, because I see that tease. And again, certain fallen angels that I shall not name, where are y'all? Because apparently a demon is causing too much trouble for us to handle, and y'all are just chilling what, across country doing a bike ride until like, oh yeah, remember that place that we left off? Let's go back there and take care of Davina because she's being problematic, because apparently Lasseter can't fully intervene, but Davina can, so that's against the rules either way. And like, that's not fair. So hello, Eddie, Adrian, hurry up. Oh, and yeah, apparently Raven is the gift of light, so that's gonna be fun to find out either in next book or Lasseter's book, and I just can't wait. And yes, you can see I really enjoy it. I always enjoy going back into the world of the BDB. I can't wait for the new side books with the Wolfen and continuation of the prisoner camp and seeing how that ties in, because I just want to see crossovers from these side books into the main books. If not, cool. If they are, awesome. That's gonna be a great book. But either way, fun installment to the BDB series. Really loved it. Loved the main characters. Loved the hints that we're going to get for the next books. And I just cannot wait for next year. And yeah. Lover Unveiled, book 19 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. 5 out of 5 stars. My name is Sarah, and bye!